Boing, boing, bing! Everybody has a story to tell with Toddie 1Skip. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Everybody Has a Story to Tell with Toddie 1Skip. So, in the past 2 weeks, the Queen Elizabeth II, had passed on, yet she continued to work 10 days after she passed on, still appearing, making public appearances. I was a huge fan of the Queen's because she is the one person that I watched who lived by her words, who lived by example, who did what she said for over 70 years. We have politicians in this country that can't do what they say for 4 years. Here was a young woman, came onto the throne when she was 25, 26 years old, and for 70 years did exactly what she said she was going to do, kept an oath. That, to me, is righteous. It's admirable. I don't know what it would be like to be her child, because I would think that they came second to everything. I think everything came second to everything except the commitment she made to serve her country. So, what did that look like? You know, she came on as queen, and that wasn't really supposed to happen. When I say that, it's because her uncle was inheriting the throne, and he decided that he was going to fall in love. Not that he decided he was going to fall in love. He fell in love with an American divorcee, and he decided that he would rather live without the throne and without the crown than live without her, because that was the choice that had to be made at the time. Times were different. So because of that, Queen Elizabeth's dad, King George, came on to take over and become the King of England. He was a sickly man. He was a horrible chain smoker, but he was a sickly man, and he had a stammer. If anybody's seen the movie The King's Speech, he was not trained to be king. He was trained to be the spare heir, like Harry was, basically. His destiny was not to be king. However, destiny knows better more times than not. So he did become king. And his young family, which was his wife, and his two children, who he used to call us four, which was Margaret and Elizabeth. So they grew up relatively very normal, the two girls. I can only imagine that when she was growing up and he took on the title of king, it was probably something he didn't want to do because he was an introvert. And again, he was very self-conscious of the fact that he stuttered. But she had to watch him conquer his fears and become a king of England and to the Commonwealth and to the Imperial Family, which was what it was called back then. And watching that had to have, at that point, she knew at some point she was going to inherit the crown and the throne. So she must have learned everything comes second. Don't do what your uncle did. I'm not doing what your uncle did. I'm going to serve because it's the right thing to do. And King George did. until he died. And then Queen Elizabeth in her mid-20s, just her mid-20s, just married basically, 2 small kids, and there she was, taking the responsibility of queen and saying her famous speech, my life, no matter how long or how short, will be to serve. And she did that without really putting a foot wrong. You know, we can speak on how she handled the Diana tragedy, but we also need to step back and say she was a grandmother too. You know, and her son lost his ex-wife, the mother of his children. And, you know, I don't want to, there was bad blood, we know this. But she still was the grandmother of 2 kids that were going to mourn the loss of their mom. And in unfamiliar territory. So, I would say that there were mistakes made, maybe, but in serving her country, maybe she couldn't read the people well. Maybe the whole Diana thing was a mess up. She definitely made good on that later. And from somebody watching and seeing our own politicians here fumble and fall over each other and lie and cheat and steal, I did not witness that with the Queen. You know, she was very constant. And people have said that she was very constant. But what she brought into the homes, into the hope of people, that is the thing that made her stand apart from everybody else, head and shoulders among everybody else. The fact that she had kept a promise for over 70 years by putting her country first. Not her family first, but her country first. You know, she was admired and liked by all the world leaders. So, does that say something about somebody's character? I talk a lot about legacy and character. The legacy of Queen Elizabeth extends beyond the royal family, because people will be talking about this woman for generations to come. She is the beacon of being admirable and honorable. That expectation is as high as it is because she placed it there. I can't think of anybody in modern history that we could look back on and say that they gave so much, that they gave all of themselves. She worked after she died. It was 10 days later before she could even be reunited with the body of her husband of over 70 years. Think about that. Who works like that? That's something else, isn't it? If we set the expectation high, it might be uncomfortable at times to meet that expectation, and it certainly might not be convenient. But if it's something that we're determined to do, no matter who we are, I think that we can get there. And I think that the Queen has shown us that mere mortals can do so too. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you can look online and see that the queen was just, she rode horses into her 80s. She was just a woman, a remarkable woman. I can't ride a horse now, not even a fan of it. But she just kept going and worked and worked and worked and served and served and served, even after her passing. She will forever live on as a great leader in whatever, you know, the monarchy. Queen Elizabeth was important because Queen Elizabeth showed us that you can do what you say. You can keep your promise. It's not always convenient. It's not always comfortable, but you can keep your word. For that reason alone, the monarchy needed to exist, to set that example, because I don't know who else could set such an example. So to the British people, and the people that loved and honored the Queen, I don't think in our lifetime we'll ever see another. That bar, I don't think will ever be met again. And when things like that happen and we start expecting less from people, we turn into crap. When we accept poor behavior as opposed to strength in character, in discipline, we are really dumbing us down. I think Queen Elizabeth and her husband as well, and he has a lot of faux pas. Let's face it, he's got a lot of mess ups there. But he showed up. He called himself, what was it, the #1 unveiler of placards, right? He showed up. Had many appearances. It was a job, right? They showed up. They did what was expected of them. It's possible. That alone, she showed us, is possible. I think that's inspirational. God bless the Queen. Good luck, King Charles. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to my channel if you want. I talk about stories and who I find amazing. And yeah. So follow my channel. Subscribe, like, share, notify, hit a bell, whatever. Hope to see you next time on Everybody Has a Story to Tell with Bing Boing Bing. Everybody Has a Story to Tell with Toddie 1Skip.